And I am learning that there are so many movies that I mistook for good that were really just little islands of quotable, what am I trying to say here? Impressionable? No, but you could do an impression of it. They were mimicable moments in a room full of hot lava. So mentally, what I suppose me and my cousins were doing, and what I even did do sometimes as an adult, is I just jump across the hot lava to the little oases of good part. And I really, really enjoy those good parts because, lava. Those were bad. You get it?
I get it.
Okay, great.
Yeah, well, when you have a movie like this, like Clifford,
but this isn't one of those.
Okay, well.
This movie's just full of great shit. Because this movie doesn't seem to pretend to be anything that's supposed to make a lot of sense. The premise is crazy. I feel like you're supposed to display. My kingdom for all the words, my brain that I cannot retrieve. You're supposed to dispense reality. What am I trying to say?
Suspend.
That's the one.
Disbelief.
Yes, right, because you're already supposed to believe this 30-year-old man. I think he was 30 at the time.
He was like 37.
Fine. It's the new 30. Is a 10-year-old boy. And
Martin Short is playing a 10-year-old child.
He sure is.
And not in like I knew about this movie. I had never seen it, but I always thought like, I don't know, like he would be like really small or...
That would make it better if he were very tiny?
I'm not saying that would make it better. I'm saying I always thought that must be what it is.
But he is made small.
He is made smaller, but not like that much. Like they're trying to legitimately pass him off as a boy. Right?
Sure. So shrinking him would make it more legitimate?
I thought there would be more tricks. I thought there were more tricks. I thought that it was more obvious, and that was like, isn't that the joke? Ha ha ha.
But it is the joke.
Yes, but not exactly.
Not enough? Okay.
Or that it's like Robin Williams in Jack, where he's got
sort of
gigantism,
right?
So it's an adult
so fucking
playing a child, but the fact that he looks like a grown up is explained in the text of the thing.
Sure, but
that's not the case.
It makes it better for me that they do not ever explain or address it, except for and to say they don't address his age or that he doesn't look like a little boy. They address that because beyond the fact that he's also a horrible, conniving psychopath.
Yeah.
so they address that a bit and how abnormal a person he is. But I understand that this movie is not for everyone. I could see not enjoying it, but I enjoyed the whole thing.
Watching it this time?
Yes. Oh, I just love him. I just and I also enjoy the performance of the uncle. And please tell me his name.
Charles Grodin plays Clifford's uncle. Right.
I always think of him as the Beethoven dad.
Charles Grodin, who is amazing and a real gem. And he's great in this movie. And every second that Clifford is not on screen, but he is, I'm enjoying this movie.
Okay.
And when Martin Short is on screen, I'm so repelled and made sick that I totally forget about everything that I liked about the movie.
But you don't think that he's doing a bad job?
Yes, I do.
Of what? Okay, so you think he's not good at being funny? He's not
in this movie. I just the bit doesn't work for me.
I feel like it's my very essence. I don't think I've ever related more to...
This is why we're having so many marital problems.
Get Anita on the horn. I don't think there's a collection of faces and reactions that are that feel more like something I do on a regular basis and would be the way I would.
Just from this movie?
Yeah.
You're not like his character at all.
No, I'm not anything like him. But if I were going to try to be funny in that way or like try to do an act of this kind.
Well, I'm glad you're not.
I feel like I would look exactly like him.
Yes. Well,
like a little boy.
I don't understand what you're saying. You're saying if I was trying to look like this person, I would look like this person?
No, I'm saying that the way that he performs these parts, I feel like are identical to what I would also...
If you were a professional actor?
I don't know. I just feel like his comedic style it speaks to me. The tool he decides to be... how he's okay with making himself look very silly and not at all attractive, and he just like goes all in. And that's several, there's lots of comedians, and I say the same thing of Jim Carrey, but the way Jim Carrey does it is not nearly as relatable for me. Jim Carrey is even over that. It's even more absurd. I just feel like the bits Martin Short does, they feel very, genuine to me. I don't understand what I'm trying to say either. Obviously,
look, it's a. I applaud the effort. He's going for something. He's taking a big swing.
Yeah,
there is something so uncomfortable about somebody trying to be funny and failing that makes you angry. That makes me angry when I again simultaneously applaud you for going for it, but I super fuck you for doing it because you did so bad that it's a crime against humanity that needs to be erased from the record. I say. No, shade at Martin Short, a very funny and likable person, very talented. But, we were watching, what fucking movie did we talk about on the podcast where...
Father of the Bride?
Yeah, Father of the Bride, where Martin Short, who
is the best.
Made his bones in sketch comedy, is one of the great sketch comedians of all time. I don't like him in movies because he is not he is like teleported in from something that would work in a 3-minute sketch, but does not work in context of a big movie. But if you're watching a movie on, cable TV and you're watching it over and over again and you're only remembering the funny parts or you're only watching the funny parts, then it does work because then it is like watching a sketch comedy.
I feel like the movies you're talking, those two movies where you thought that Frank's character in Father of the Bride felt like it was part of a completely different movie.
Yeah.
I felt like it was a perfect little interjection of ridiculousness that kind of outwardly expressed how the dad in the movie feels about the entire process of an expensive wedding. I feel like that was the point. It was for it to feel like a completely other foreign space that made no sense. And why is this necessary? And then despite himself, he grows to love it and understand it and realize there's a time and a place for this kind of excess.
Right. The director, Charles Shire, was going for that, and I feel like didn't pull it off well enough to make it feel like he actually fit in this world. It feels too much like I don't
think he's supposed to fit in a normal world because the idea of giant elaborate weddings, I know giant elaborate weddings are ridiculous and are stupid expense and a waste of money. So I don't.
Yeah, but nobody else in those movies is performing like that.
Yes, his assistant is. His assistant is ridiculous.
Well, then his assistant also doesn't belong in the movie. But that's
okay, but you've never said that because he did manage to make it seem like those two belong together. You're wrong.
This is we hit this wall with comedy sometimes.
Okay, we do.
Which is just, it's funny. No, it's not. It belongs.
No, but I'm not saying why something's funny. I'm saying why something works and it doesn't feel like it's part of a separate movie. I do not agree. But
with Father of the Bride, I did think, independent of whether it belongs in the movie, which I don't think it does, I did think that Martin Short was funny as Frank.
Okay.
Whereas in Clifford, I don't think it's funny at all. I think it's just the worst.
I'm laughing at it just thinking about it.
We have the movie on silent right now watching it, and Clifford is now going into his uncle, who he's never met, is going into the house of his uncle's girlfriend, played by
who he's also never met.
He just runs right in, goes to the bathroom, hears her taking a shower, and she is, in the most contrived way ever, just talking aloud to herself.
About?
Reenacting like a conversation she had with Charles Grodin. And Clifford, because he's a little fucking psychopath, decides to stick his dinosaur into the shower and freak her out.
She resets a lot in this movie.
Which is, I guess, the conceit. This is another thing when we watched What About Bob? And I feel perpetually like the Richard Dreyfuss character who's just like, there's this new person, there's this new chaotic element in our lives, and I'm the only person who's annoyed by it, and everybody else thinks I'm the villain for not liking it.
Oh, then this is why. That would be the commonality in Charles Grodin. Am I saying his name?
Charles Grodin.
Charles Grodin's character here and Martin Short's character, Steve Martin's character in Father of the Bride, they are the only two for the majority of the time that see anything wrong with the nuisance. Mm-hmm. So What About Bob, this movie and that one, I think that might be hitting on why you often feel like the lone person in the room screaming, why is not everyone annoyed by the majority of the things being said here?
Yeah, so I'm very triggered by these things.
Yeah.
But what about Bob and Father of the Bride? At least part 2 are just much more successful at.
I can't get comfortable.
Making me, I don't know, sympathize with them, or I don't know.
They become something more. They grow on you.
I very much sympathize with Charles Grodin in this movie. He's not. He's not doing anything. I don't know.
He's a tool. He wanted to use Clifford to trick his fiance into remaining his fiance.
Which, like, yeah, you probably shouldn't get married if she wants kids and you don't. But you know,
or trick her.
That's a reasonable thing to do. His brother, who he hasn't spoken to in 20 years or in 10 years, drops in out of the sky because Clifford is flying with his. All right, so this movie. Oh well, okay. So this movie was filmed in 1990. It was not released until 1994. But
because it angered the director so much because he hated Clifford. No, it didn't.
The director was a man named Paul Flaherty who worked with Martin Short on SCTV. And Martin Short is a Canadian sketch comedian, was on SCTV, which was the big Canadian sketch comedy show in the early 80s. Worked with John Candy and Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara. Bunch of other people who helped produce this movie. And the director, Paul Flaherty, I don't know anything else that he's ever...
He's never directed anything before or since.
Okay, he doesn't even have a Wikipedia page.
Right.
So he's nobody, is what I'm saying. He doesn't even have a Wikipedia page. But Richard Kind is Clifford's father, and he's flying
who I love
to Hawaii for a conference where he's going to make a lot of money giving a speech about boring adult things. And Clifford, a 10-year-old played by a 40-year-old, is just being a little fucking terrorist on the plane and talking to his dinosaur and like fingering people's buttholes and stuff.
Jesus.
And then decides, because they're flying over Los Angeles where Dinosaur World is, it's Dinosaur World, not Dinosaur Land, right?
Right.
Okay, so they're flying over Los Angeles. Los Angeles area is home to some of the most famous theme parks in the world. They don't mention those. They make up a fictional theme park called Dinosaur World. And Clifford then decides he's going to go into the cockpit of the plane and bring the plane down by going like, what's this button do? Doopy-doo, and presses a button and brings the plane down. And they won't let Clifford back on the plane reasonably because he's now a terrorist, although he doesn't get arrested or anything.
He's 10. They also don't seem to inform the lady who's responsible for watching him at the airport later of what he's been accused of or anything because she thinks he's adorable.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of... Anyway.
Did you ever fly?
Everyone resets, I guess is my point in this movie. Terrorist and reset.
They do. Did you ever fly alone as a kid?
I didn't fly till I was 22.
Oh. So no. Well, I flew to space camp with my friend Caleb when we were 12, and we had to change planes in Memphis, and we had to lay over there. And we were, again, 12, and they made us stay in like this daycare room by ourselves for like the 2-hour layover in Memphis. Oh. And I was just spent the whole time seething. I was so offended that I was like in the room with the babies and the little kids who were flying by themselves. Do kids fly by themselves?
Yeah, babies flying by themselves. That's impressive.
God, I was angry because like nothing was more offensive to me.
And you weren't impressive.
When I was a kid and people treated me like I was my own age, like nothing.
Well, because at your own home you were given lots of responsibility. It makes total sense that you didn't appreciate other adults not recognizing your maturity.
Don't you see how impressive and mature I am?
I don't fucking mean impressive. I mean put upon. Lacking of childhood.
Sorry, we have the movie on right now, and I'm seeing that Clifford is just making faces through a window of Mary Steenburgen. Like, no! Oh my god! How do we talk about this? He brings the plane down. Richard Kind calls Charles Grodin. Sorry, brother, we haven't talked in 10 years, but will you please watch my son? You live here. And Charles Grodin then runs to the airport and picks up Clifford in the daycare room, brings him to Mary Steenburgen's house where he can jump in the shower with her, and then Mary Steenburgen's like, what a little angel. And Charles Grodin doesn't yet realize what an evil little shit that his nephew is. But then what happens?
All right. Well, so the next day he wakes him up, or he tells him that night that, guess what? We're going to Dinosaur World because I know how important it is to you. And I developed Larry the Scary Rex, which is a big attraction
because
there.
Charles Grodin is a big fancy, successful, and fancy architect.
Engineer more, though, don't you think? Like, yeah, he's an architect, but it seems like he's building a transit system for what used to be Los Angeles. Because we didn't even talk about the wraparound story. that this movie opens in year 2050.
But this is why
they needed this part, though.
Yeah, I understand the function it serves.
Do you?
Yeah, you if you know that Clifford is not literally the Antichrist, but turns out to be a good man in the future, and you're showing him first, then it's gonna frame it a little differently how you see it.
Because it is intolerable otherwise. He does seem like he's a person who should die.
Like, yeah, that is a good idea. It's done so strangely with this like Richie Rich type music. Opens in this whimsical convent Jesuit Catholic retreat of the future where children live.
Only boys.
And Martin Short is a very old priest who is trying to really win over this like little Bart Simpson kid played by Ben Savage.
The part is confusing to me because he seems hated because all those kids that he talks to before like throw shit at him, and then this smart kid, the one who blew up the gymnasium, the Bart Simpson type, you said, like loves him. So like, are we? I guess it doesn't matter, but it's like, is he popular or not?
But it's like the way they talk, the rhythm, the things they say seem like it's a movie from 1937. Like it seems like it's Spencer Tracy in Boys Town. Like, well, I don't know, Father Flanagan. Sometimes I just don't feel like I fit in here. Oh, son, I was once a boy too. Let me tell you a tale. And then the rest of the movie is the tale that he's telling. Of how he was a terrorist.
They could have made this make a bit more sense if they would have explained, like, I've positioned myself at this, school for troubled boys or boys with not lots of support at home because their fathers are too rich, flying around the world. It's because I knew I would find people who were like me when I was a kid, who was very intelligent, but has a psychopathic antisocial streak. And I'm going to tell them this story about a time that someone forgave me, and I'm going to make sure that they are not the Unabomber.
Yeah, like, that would have been helpful. It would have been helpful for him to say, like, not, I was a boy who was into the mischief as a child, but no, I was the worst kid of all time. I was literally evil. I should have been arrested multiple times. I committed war crimes. Like he's presenting himself like he was like he was Bart Simpson, but actually he was Satan.
He was Sideshow Bob.
Like right now he's trying to wrestle the wheel away from Charles Grodin while they're driving so that he can kill them both and anybody else they hit on the road.
Yeah, and
he's happy, and then he starts talking to his dinosaur.
But that, even as a child, him talking to the dinosaur and blaming things on the dinosaur, Stefan, did bother me.
I don't like when adults don't seem to like know anything about kids. This doesn't seem like anything a real kid would do.
But isn't that the point? Like, none of it is I don't think it's ever supposed to feel like a kid's doing anything.
It's a great argument to say whenever somebody says anything, just say, yeah, that was the point.
Okay.
No, it's a good thing to say. Now Charles Grodin is running into the gas station, and Clifford is very quickly going to bribe a kid wearing a dinosaur costume whose family is going to Dinosaur World to trade places with him. And he gives him a lot of money.
All right, look. Again, this is another part that bothered me as a child. The idea that you could be separated from your family in a time before cell phones. Well, I wouldn't have even known that then. I just knew this is not okay. You do not impersonate someone else's child and leave that child in the fucking men's room. So I will say, even for my taste, this was in poor taste.
Are we supposed to be... Who does the movie want us to side with Grodin or Short?
I never did side with Clifford. Yeah, I don't know
who could.
I don't know who could either. Not even older Clifford.
Especially, I could never not side with Charles Grodin because I just feel like that's who I am.
And he so quickly stops being a tool. You know what I mean? Like, at first you're kind of like, oh, he's gross. And then you're just like, okay. But he really is kind of trying, and I just like watching him lose his shit. His
story is that he wants to marry Steenburgen.
Sarah Marshalls? That can't be right. Sarah Daniels.
Miss Sarah Davis?
Davis.
Every time, I'll return to that in a second.
Okay. Look at his face. He just got hit with a purse. Did you see his face?
Yeah.
Oh, Clifford.
Grodin wants to marry Mary Steenburgen, and she says, "You don't want kids," and he's like, "No, I love kids," and she's like, "You're a liar," and he's like, "No, I love kids. I have a nephew who I love," and she's like, "I've never heard you talk about your nephew even once," and he's like, "No, I love my nephew.
I want to
love him so much," and she says, "Well, who is your nephew?"
I want to say Mason?
Yes, and by coincidence, Clifford then gets to
Seems Clifford.
Clifford then drops into their lives that very same day. So Charles Grodin is
Very
using
pat.
this. Charles Grodin plays Martin. There's all these fucking names. They're mixed. Martin Short plays Clifford.
Right.
Charles Grodin plays
Feel
Martin.
free to write him a different name. If this movie was written around Martin Short, maybe don't name another character Martin.
Right.
Yeah.
Is going to use this time with Clifford to demonstrate to his fiancée that he is capable of change and loving children. But then he very quickly realizes this is not a child. This is Hitler, as he says several times. I have Hitler in my house. And so he very reasonably starts going to war with him, as you would. And Martin Short, Clifford, just wants to go to Dinosaur World, singularly focused on that, but stuff keeps getting in the way, and Charles Grodin won't take him to Dinosaur World. Hijinks ensue. Clifford keeps, like I said, fingering Charles Grodin's butthole and poisoning his food and killing animals, tying himself up for weird sex acts, and then blaming it on teenagers and inviting teenagers in to have a party. We're all laughing the whole time at all of this. And then
some of us more than others.
And then Charles Grodin takes him to Dinosaur World in the middle of the night. There's only one security guard at this vast palatial theme park. Even though Charles Grodin is an architect who designs transit systems, he's also apparently knows how to operate the individual rides.
He's the engineer. He built the fucking design of the ride.
You think it's reasonable that the person who designed the park knows how to operate the rides?
He didn't design the park. He designed that one ride. So yeah, I think it's reasonable.
Wait, ride designing is a different. Whatever.
He designed only Larry, the scary Rex. He says it very clearly in the beginning of the movie. That is the only thing he added to the park.
His full-time job should be he's an Imagineer for Disney. It's not I also design railroads.
Excuse me. He figured out how to properly place track around a small world so that it made sense, the trajectory, the inertia, and it was also a fun experience. What do you think it is to plan a freaking transit system in Los Angeles? It's pretty similar skill set.
No, designing rides is very different from being an architect.
I'm pretty
designing city stuff. But whatever.
How dare you?
It's not a whatever.
You don't know.
I couldn't find whether this was because this dinosaur park looks really cool. You've got these matte paintings that make it look weird and haunted and like it's from silent movies or something. And the actual ride, which looks really cool, doesn't seem to have been filmed on an actual ride.
Okay.
But they actually made it for the movie. I don't know. I couldn't find much information.
Yeah.
But the climax of the movie is Charles Grodin makes Clifford ride on the ride. You basically watch a YouTube ride through of the ride one time at normal speed. And then do it again at another speed and then again at another speed.
I do object to the idea that there would be a ride designed with 3 speeds, and especially one that you shouldn't be using. I never did enjoy that part.
And there's no cleanup crew in this park. There's no nighttime security, whatever. He's torturing Clifford by making him go on this ride over and over and over again. Then the ride starts to break down and Clifford ends up on a fucking high height. And he's going to fall down into the mouth of an animatronic T-Rex and get eaten. And then Charles Grodin saves him. And that act of kindness is what eventually leads to him becoming a priest. No? No,
it's him allowing him to be the ring bearer at his wedding.
Which
because the other plot is that he wants to totally F Miss Sarah Davis.
Yeah.
Sarah Daniels.
And he keeps calling her that because he's got this fucking ridiculous Little Rascal speaking style where everything's the bestest. Miss Sarah Davis.
You look like you're dressed up and dreaming, and don't tell me you're not.
I don't know how to say this.
Oh.
It seems like he's making fun of adult people with mental disabilities, right?
Oh, I mean,
you're
ruining this for me now.
I mean, like the referring to people by
First
Mr. and Mrs. first and last name is a thing you often see from people from people with autism, from people
who have a script in their heads.
Yes, and to just keep repeating it. I couldn't help but think about that. Obviously, it was great. It was great fun to do that back in 1990.
Well, I mean, fuck. You just blown this movie out of
great. I blew it wide open.
I don't think that's... I think he's just being precocious and extraverbal and a smarty pants know-it-all. I mean, they're supposed to be portraying someone who is, like, hyper-intelligent, which also could fit with your autism theory, but...
Sure. This is a reading. I'm not saying this was intentional.
He is singularly focused in that he loves dinosaurs, but he doesn't only talk about dinosaurs or anything. He just seems obsessive about wanting to get what he gets.
Yes, that also sort of reads like, would you be surprised if you found out that Martin Short is like a meticulous preparer? There's this really good Vanity Fair article that I read about him, which again, everything I learned about him makes me like him, makes me think he's amazing.
He's fucking awesome.
How much work he puts into his roles, how meticulous he is. He writes down all of his ideas about every little tick that he shows. Mm-hmm. Would not surprise me if he said, I want to play this person as if he's autistic. But even if he didn't, it's hard not to read that.
Okay, but I'm the autism police over here. I mean, yeah. I'm always calling out what a character is, and then and they're supposed to be the comedic relief, and then it completely, like Pride and Prejudice, we just watched recently, and I mean, there is clearly, he's supposed to be the comic relief in this movie, and, you know, even our heroine just thinks he's so hilariously stupid, and it's like, anyway, it's really a fucking bummer when you find in old movies the insensitivity and the willingness to portray someone who has no control over the way their neurons fire. Yeah. Anyway, me always feeling like I'm the one that's constantly calling that out, I did not, there was not a speck of that in here. No, I mean, people with autism very much care to fit in, to people please usually, to never be a burden. They have things that they're very verbal and that they have a very well-versed vocabulary around certain subjects, but not like this. He's conniving and plotting.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's literally playing him as if he's autistic. I'm saying there are things that to me read like he's trying to make fun of an autistic person.
Okay, but
it's annoying or funny when.
When's the last time you watched like a just stereotypical housewife, husband, four family, whatever from like, you know, the 50s or the 60s, like something that wasn't even like withstanding the test of time. It's just from that time. There's something, and I'm saying this because when we go to our doctor's office, we go separately because we have two different doctors at this office, but do you notice? They're always playing like a TV Land type channel. But not a good one, right? It's one that even you and I didn't watch, and we watched Nick at Night.
You're true. They're always playing like the show Lucille Ball did after I Love Lucy, or they're playing like the Donna Reed show.
Yeah, Donna Reed. It's even worse. It's that. It's so, these people are aliens, and it's like, it's nails on a chalkboard to listen. Oh, gee, Dad, I sure as heck do. I mean, it's this. He seems like he's playing a child he's doing an act, right? Because he's a psychopath. These sociopaths mimic things from TV and things because they don't know how else, they realize other people have feelings and that you have to mimic those feelings to them. Mm-hmm. So he's portraying some old-fashioned child that it seems innocent. That's why he wears a suit and a tie and short pants.
It's like a Catholic school uniform that he's wearing.
And no one asked him to put that on.
Yes, but a uniform from the 30s. That's why...
That's what I'm saying. So he's doing an act of a good little boy because he's not one.
Which I just don't like it.
Fine, but that doesn't make him pretending to be autistic.
I didn't say he's pretending to be autistic.
I'm also saying that.
I've seen that in the performance.
It doesn't seem inspired by
it's part of the thing that's repelling me.
Well, then fair, but wrong.
You're wrong.
Your feelings are wrong.
Your feelings are wrong.
I object. Look how funny he's being. He's pretending to sip.
It's just fun. Everything you point out, like, look at how funny that is. I'm like, look at how terrible this is.
Okay, my very favorite part though is with this boy and his cereal. Oh, careful, honey. And then, okay, I'm going all over the place. But the part where he asks him for just 1 second to look like a normal boy, and he tries several different faces for normalcy.
Yeah, that was funny.
I love that part.
That was funny. Look, I laughed like 10 times in this movie, and yet I give it 1/2 star out of 5.
1.5?
No, 1/2 star. I think this is my least favorite movie that we've covered on the podcast.
Wow.
I don't. Again, bravo to you, Lacey. You're a great woman and a hero.
Okay.
And bravo to Martin Short. He's a great person and an excellent actor. Very funny person. This is a big swing and a miss, and yet I resent him for missing. But there's just like, okay, we watched all of Community recently, and whenever we would watch, we were just barreling through it. We were loving it. Whenever we would get to like a musical episode or like a claymation episode or a Muppet episode, because Community would always have 1 or 2 of those a season, where this episode is animated.
I'm stressed out just hearing
we would get like 3 seconds in, and it like Abed would start singing or something, and you would just be like, nope, next. It was just like you couldn't even.
I don't even know how to put words to this thing of mine. Animated shows, or there are several other examples of network shows picking a season to just be completely different, to a whole other kind of styling. I can't. What is wrong with me? I do wonder. Bob's Burgers does it once a season, so there's just, for however many seasons there are Bob's Burgers, one of my number 1 favorite shows. I have not seen at least 7 of them due to this.
Yeah,
I can't fucking do it.
Yeah, there was like a season 25 episode of The Simpsons that was a Lego episode. That
oh my God.
I think Macy made you watch some of it, and I think you were having like convulsive fits.
I left.
Just something. So, but that's just how I felt watching this whole movie. Like,
okay.
Nope. Clifford, Martin Short playing a boy, won't do it. Can't watch it. And yet I have to keep watching it because it's my job. Because that's how devoted I am to this podcast.
We call that cognitive dissonance. What is that? There's something just so rattling.
I don't know if it's cognitive dissonance. I think it's like I'm making a person with trypophobia stare at little tiny holes for 30 minutes.
Yeah, all right. I wish I could figure that. I mean, because I do feel like it makes me dumber. I feel like it makes my world smaller because they're doing something artistically that's interesting. They're taking a risk. And why can't I wrap my head around it? I just need a thing to always say the thing that it is. That's sad.
I feel like I'm not a good fan of, pop culture because I know so little about comedy. I'm not a comedy nerd at all. I know I never watched SNL. I never watched any sketch shows. I don't know many stand-up comedians. It's just a giant hole in my heart knowledge.
It was my theory about why you did not like this, because I do not mind an entire movie built around a sketch. And even if it does seem like it's popping in and out of the sketch part of it, because the rest of the characters can't seem to catch up or be part of that world. My point was, yeah, you just don't have your cast. You don't have your, your alumni?
We did Austin Powers
SNL.
on the show, and the first Austin Powers movie is magnificent. And it's a sketch. It's just a 3-minute sketch basically turned into a 90-minute movie, but written so well, directed so well, and performed with such joy. To me, I'm only approaching it as, does it work as a movie?
It was just a theory.
Because I don't have a separate attachment to these people from SNL or any other thing that I know them from.
You know who
I only know Martin Short from movies, and he hasn't been in many great movies, right?
He's only been in 3 movies. 3 Amigos, this one, and the 2 Father of the Brides. I can't think of anything
Inner
else.
Space. A Simple Wish with Meryl Wilson from Matilda. Jungle to Jungle.
Oh!
Yeah.
I got excited about that. Is that Jonathan Taylor Thomas?
No, that was Tim Allen.
And Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
No, Jonathan Taylor Thomas. No, you're thinking of Home Improvement.
No, I'm thinking of Getting Back at Dad. All right.
No, it's fun. Hold on, wait.
Is it Macaulay Culkin?
No, the kid is like he learns that he has a son who's like a native, South American Indian or something.
Oh, okay.
From the jungle. He takes him out of the jungle of Peru and brings him to New York City. What?
Oh.
And he climbs the side of the Statue of Liberty.
Okay, yeah, no, that's not at all what I thought.
I saw that movie 100 times.
Okay. That sounds problematic.
And no, it was perfect. And but there was like this movie with Jonathan Taylor Thomas, I think, where Chevy Chase is his stepdad.
Is that getting even with Dad?
I think it has dad in the title, like my new dad or
Dad to Dad.
Dad to Dad. I don't know.
Dad.
But
Dog.
yeah.
Dog.
I would like to let's watch like some Saturday Night Live compilations or something, because I would like to learn more about this or
That makes me
maybe
a
we
little
could do an
nervous too.
episode
Maybe
of
a compilation, sure, but I have a feeling a lot of it does not age well.
But maybe we should do an episode. We've never done a non-movie episode of Load Bearing Beams, but maybe we could make an exception for like you try to win me over to, I don't know, who's your big SNL person or people.
Will Ferrell, Sherry O'Terry, Chris Kattan. And then I'd say I also feel connected to the earlier cast of, help me.
What, John Belushi?
No, not that old. No, I'm sorry. I'm blanking. Farley.
Yeah, Chris Farley.
David Spade.
David Spade, Phil Hartman.
Okay, but you're jumping all over cast here.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, okay. And then Mike Myers and Dana Carvey. So yeah, I probably spanned 2.5 decades there, I'm thinking. Is that right? I don't know. It's a pretty big window from like age, 7 to 23.
Well, maybe we'll do it as
I stopped around Jimmy Fallon.
Let's do like a YouTube only. Folks listening, you got to subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you can
This boy and his cereal.
watch the video where I hate jokes about kids like
this part's on.
Like eating. This is what a kid would eat if he could eat anything he wants.
That's not what the joke is.
Sugar all over his cereal.
Okay,
what's the joke?
Oh, the fucking this boy and his cereal. He pushed his head into the cereal when she wasn't looking because he hate. Yeah, it's funny.
No, but before that, he's preparing like a breakfast.
And then I pointed out, I feel like Mary Steenburgen walks in on strange grown-up men acting like children, eating lots of sugar in too many movies.
Where else?
Elf.
Oh my God,
this
yes.
exact thing.
Yes, and I was thinking that when you said it, right before you said it.
Because Elf is also something that's a little bit uncomfortable, but at least you understand why he acts like a child. And
Elf is a movie I have a hard time like loving. I like it, or I don't even like it that much. When we watched on Christmas time, I know everyone loves that movie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I appreciate this, but adults acting like kids, it just doesn't do it for me. Turns me off. Him drinking Coke and loving sugar grosses me out. There's just a little divide that I can't bridge.
You need a good dose of shame with your adults. And
that's right.
There's a big lack of shame with children, adults.
You're right. Folks, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you this morning.
Hasn't it been?